Grant, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Rifat. Okay, so welcome everyone. We are just waiting for some few people to join, so we will just wait for 3 to 5 minutes, then we should be able to start. Okay, I think we will start now, and others will be joining as we go along. So welcome again to this event when we will be today launching the Gce Learning Hub and the e-learning a platform that we have developed. So thank you so much for taking time to be part of this event. I will be your moderator for this session. So before we start, I just want to go through with you some housekeeping items that we need to take note of. So the first is that, as always, we are providing interpretation for this meeting. If you are on your if you're using a computer, on your far right, you see there's a globe that has got interpretation at the bottom of it. If you click that, it should be able to show you all the languages that we are offering today. So we have got English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, and Arabic. So you should be able to choose the language of your preference, through that interpretation tab. We also have the question and answer functionality that will be activated for you to be able to raise any question or comments that you do have. We also have the chat box functionality available that will also be available. So I encourage you to use both of those to share your comments as the discussions are moving on. We have got staff that are assigned to those, and will be able to respond to the questions or to the comments that you might be putting in there as we go. But for those that will not be able to respond, we'll be able to reach out to you after the session. And please feel free to use the language of your preference in those comments or questions. In the Secretariat, we have got a diversity of languages. We do have most of the languages that are spoken out of the 5 GCE languages, and they will be able to interpret and provide the responses to you. We also have live transcription available. Pirani, I hope that has been activated. So those are some of the things. And also just to note that we are kind of like in a seminar session, so only the panelists have got the access to the video and the microphone. All the participants are at the moment muted. This is just to allow us to engage, so that there are no disturbances on background voices should the mics be activated, without necessarily knowing. So those are some of the things that you need to take into account. But feel free to send your comments should you not be able to hear, because there's no interpretation, and we have good staff again that are managing that. Next slide, Vicky. I just want to go through with you, the program for today. Our session should last for 2 hours. The first part of it will be a keynote address by our president, Rifat Sabah, focusing on building the movement through shared learning. Then we are going to watch a short video on the Learning Hub itself. Then from there, we'll move into a brief presentation of the GCE knowledge exchange and learning strategy that we have developed that goes together with this platform that will be led by Kusewa. Then we'll do the background on how we developed the advocacy course that we have, as well as the education financing one. Wolfgang will lead us into that. Then we'll have a 5-minute break. Soon after that break, we're going to go into live demonstration of the courses that we do have, and also the Learning Hub itself. Then those will be led by Vicky Mugeni and Kusewa. Then we have also a plan for question and answer session at the end of the session, to take any question that you might have related to the use of the platform itself. So we should be able to respond to those ones as I noted earlier on. Then the meeting will be closed by our Vice President, who is Madeleine Zuniga. So that's how the program is for today. Just to say that even though we have arranged it this way, but we really request you to be free to share your comments in the chat, as well as in the question and answer section of the Zoom, so that we are able to respond to all the issues that we have. This is our own session, and I feel that we are all going to be active and will all participate into the discussions as they move along. Having said that, just to say that in December 2019, the board took a decision to refocus the work of GCE. We discussed this during the virtual assembly, that the board wanted the GCE movement to go back to its basics, that is to focus on advocacy, campaign, and research. And when you look at all of those, we cannot necessarily do that if we don't have enough evidence to support the work that we're doing. And because of the change in context, the way things are changing across, one would have to be updating his or her own knowledge base each and every time. And this is what has necessitated GCE to develop the platform that we will be launching today. There's been a lot of consultations on this platform, in various languages, and thanks to our monitoring and evaluation and learning staff, Kusewa and Vicky, for leading through that process, whereby we have engaged with you as GCE members to make your inputs into what should be the learning platform for GCE, what materials should be there, how it has to be structured. And we are really excited to see that that those consultations have ended up with a fruitful tool that we are going all of us to use. This tool is not for the Secretariat. This tool is for you as the members. If you can remember the things that we said during the Future World Assembly, was to say that we really want to ensure that the GCE members are at the center of the work that we are doing. We will not develop anything, we will not do any work that does not necessarily support the work that you as our members are doing. And that is the core mandate for the Secretariat. And the board is guiding that process to ensure that you as the members are the center of every piece of work that emanates from the Secretariat. It has taken us a number of months and a lot of hours to get to a platform like the one that or you will be seeing today. And for those that attended the consultation, you might have seen that already. So we are really excited from the Secretariat that we do have a platform that will strengthen the movement in sharing, in exchanging of knowledge, but also in providing much depth, advocacy evidence to the things that basically we are all going to be working on. So I want to welcome you again to this event. This is your event. We are launching a tool today that is yours. It's not for anybody else, but it is for you as GCE members. That being said, allow me now to invite our president, Rifat Sabah, to give us his opening speech. Over to you, Rifat.
Thank you, Grant. If can you open my camera or give me the? Thank you for everybody. The pandemic, for some people, it was a crisis, and some others was opportunity. I think for us as Global Campaign for Education, in most of the countries, it was opportunity. Here in the Middle East, ACIA has been look at the pandemic as opportunity, much more than a crisis. ACIA focus in the pandemic to bring coalition from all over the Middle East. It was very difficult before the pandemic to bring all the people. Because the expenses that we faced before the pandemic, we were not able to bring all the people who is working with us, all our members during the pandemic. So ACIA, one of the key legs for GCE, it succeeded to bring all the coalition from the Middle East to exchange their experience. This really has helped the coalition to survive in this pandemic, because the people, the coalition, when they exchange the experience among each other, they succeed to get a successful story. They succeed to get a good practice from each other. And you remember in the beginning, most of us was under the shock, because there is a really proactive actors. They succeed to get those who was under shock to be more active. So the coalition was really able to survive in this pandemic, but also it helped us as ACIA, as it helped also GCE to strengthen its position in education sector in the Middle East. Let me say to you that without the pandemic, it was very difficult for ACIA to reach a village far away in Morocco or in Mauritania or in Sudan. But in this pandemic, we succeed to reach out for those marginalized people who were not able to even to participate in our activity face-to-face. But in this pandemic, we succeed to reach them, and the learning even that we did, the webinars, the workshop, the meetings, it was very, really to publish your event on the Facebook also, it gives the people in these marginalized areas the opportunity to watch if they didn't succeed because the internet to be part of the meeting. So the people, they have the opportunity to learn from each other and to develop their own immunity to face the new difficulties that occur by the pandemic. So for us as ACIA, it was really opportunity to deal with the crisis. Despite ACIA, we are live in a region, historically, the crisis after the crisis. And most of our countries is even under emergency. Despite that, the pandemic was additionally crisis, but this crisis is really also, it helped us when we look at it as opportunity to go to meet and to interact with all of our members. This platform that GCE developed really will support the coalition within the GCE member in order to exchange the knowledge, to get to know how the people work, to learn new tactics that the people may be use and I cannot use, to frame the concept of education under this crisis, to understand what will come in the future, how I can double my advocacy. This is really an opportunity for exchange the knowledge with all the GCE members. As a movement, we can only grow up strongly if we are learning and adapting ourselves to the changes. This is the immunity that GCE have. It's quickly, we succeed as GCE to adapt ourselves to the pandemic changes. This immunity is very important for the GCE. And I can tell you, I personally felt that GCE much strong than before in the pandemic, rather than before the pandemic, because the strategy, the tactics that we use to adopt the changes, it helps us to see the power inside ourselves as a movement. So as a learning movement, we value sharing of all the information on the work we are doing. This is very important through the learning event, through the exchange program, to value our work. So when I hear, we attend hundreds of Zooms. When you hear the people, how they are working, and you look at yourself, you value your working, and you value the knowledge, the skills that you are sharing with the others. So sharing experience, it breaks bridges that was built by the patriarchal systems. Historically, there is bridges has been really built by our patriarchal system. It's one of the most crucial steps in helping institutions and individuals, especially the ones who have limited resources, to open doors and information and rich experience in the field. It defies the concept of the capitalist domination on sectors and even basic rights. In this space, we not only enrich each other, but also we build a strong unity of constant sharing of knowledge, a knowledge that everyone has the right to experience. It helps us as a movement to understand each other and to reduce the gap in our point of view to the things, because also we are not one person, we are not one opinion. We are a huge movement. All the world, from different countries, from different cities, from different camps, villages, Christians, Muslim, Jews, we have from Hindus, from every kind of religious nationality. We are also different attitude in all what we are thinking. So it is not easy to gather all this diversity in GCE, which is, I consider it one of the historical success story, that a movement to bring all this together in one movement. It's a democratic movement. It is not just a movement, but also GCE is succeed to build a democratic movement. This hub, I think, is the place to bring all the members and outside of the GCE to in GCE to think that together for a future. God bless all of you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Rifat, for those profound words. Indeed, that this platform will bring us together. Indeed, that this platform will help us, to contain the changes that are happening. We strongly agree with what you've said, that life was not the same as it is today. There's a lot that is changing, and we as activists in our own fields, we have to keep up with the changes, and the Learning Hub will really deliver on that. And all of this work wouldn't have been possible without the support of our funding partners. So we really want to thank all those that contributed, to the establishment of this: GIZ, Oxfam IBIS, GPE, as well as CEDA, in their support for us to be able, to have such a platform. So a huge thanks, for the financial and technical support that we received in the development of this learning platform. The future on how it is engaged, it is no longer with the partners that we have. It is now with us, and Kusewa and Vicky will lead us into all that process on how we will engage, with the platform moving forward. Without much ado, we will now go into the learning strategy itself. Actually, before that, sorry, my apologies for that. We want first, to show you the video that will put all of this into context. It is a very good video, and I believe that you will enjoy watching it. So, Vicky, let's play the video now.
Sharing of knowledge and information has long been a key feature of societies all over the world. Knowledge exchange has always been a process that brings together people, organizations, and communities to exchange ideas, expertise, and experiences, and to increase their collective impact. Throughout history, knowledge has been passed on through writing, through drawing, and through storytelling. Today, new ways of exchanging have emerged. GCE is adapting these new technologies to create a global hub for learning and membership engagement, using modern technologies to easily share, exchange, and learn from each other. Introducing GCE's Membership Engagement and Learning Hub. The Learning Hub supports GCE's efforts for knowledge exchange, shared cross-regional learning, and capacity building. In a global membership community like GCE, knowledge exchange and learning are based on the belief that the network's most valuable resource is the knowledge of its members and its people. Our success is determined by working together. The Learning Hub will be available in all 5 GCE languages and will have online learning activities such as e-learning online courses, access to events offered by members across the world, a repository with access to learning materials and resources, learning communities, as well as discussion forums. Knowledge exchange and learning into GCE's work is essential for realizing GCE's strategic goals and vision, and the goals of its members and partners at national, regional, and international levels. Together with members and partners, Gce requires evidence and knowledge to influence political and social change and to keep up with the education policy changes that emerge in various contexts and globally. Join us and share your knowledge at www.campaignforeducation.org.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for that video. Then we will go now straight into the GCE Care strategy. Over to you, Kusela.
Thank you so much, Grant, and good afternoon to everyone. As Grant indicated, my name is Kuselwa. I am the Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Manager from the GCE Secretariat in Johannesburg. The focus of my presentation today is to share the GCE's approach and our recent developments towards effective and collaborative knowledge exchange and learning. As you can see from my screen, that knowledge exchange and learning at GCE is embedded in all areas of our work as outlined in the GCE 2019 to 2022 strategic plan. And it's also important to acknowledge that knowledge exchange and learning was adopted as one of the operational areas towards strengthening the GCE movement. However, it is also important to acknowledge and recognize that the practice of generating knowledge, documenting experiences, as well as sharing those and making use of those to ensure that we improve our processes as well as our advocacy approaches have existed long before that. One of the initiatives I think we can really recognize was the implementation of the CSCF program, which provided main mechanisms that drove learning and capacity building between 2009 and 2019 for the GCE movement. However, going forward, we have really refocused some of those initiatives that have existed within the movement, and we are investing more of our efforts as well as resources to building systems and processes that are responding well with the changes of the time, as the president has indicated earlier, as well as Grant, how the times have changed and how GCE needs to adapt to these changes in order to respond well to the challenges, as well as the contextual changes. As a result, the development of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy, as well as investing in the new platforms, online platforms like the ones that we are launching today, are some of the recent developments and systems that we are putting in place so that we can continue to strengthen the practice of knowledge exchange and learning going forward. So to reshape, you can move to the next slide, Vicky, please. To reshape our knowledge sharing and learning approaches, we have developed the knowledge exchange and learning strategy for the purpose of really guiding the contributions of various GCE stakeholders towards achieving our learning goals and objectives. The primary objective of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy is to ensure that the current and future work of the GCE across the movement is informed by the lessons learned, best practices, as well as strong collaborations from all GCE members and partners. The implementation of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy relies on 3 pillars that you can see in the screen towards achieving the related outcomes that we have set for each pillar. The first pillar being really the investment towards, as well as establish knowledge sharing systems, as we are launching one of those today. The second pillar relates to cross-learning and membership engagement, which really just is about putting together deliverables and processes that ensure that our knowledge exchange and learning processes, they also drive that cross-learning across the regions, as well as different contexts in which the GCE national coalitions and the regional coalitions are based, and that there is that interaction between the GCE members and partners, as well as other external partners that are working closer or are aligned to GCE's work. And then finally, to really have structured processes in terms of like really strengthening the capacity of the GCE movement as a whole. So these three pillars together, they really house a number of different deliverables in which we aim by them to guide members and partners on how to really contribute and link their respective learning initiatives to the GCE learning outcomes, as well as the implementation of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy. So in terms of the related outcomes for each pillar, through the deliverables in each pillar, we are hoping to achieve these related outcomes. Firstly, for the first pillar, as we said that we are working on really establishing systems that drive that collaboration and engagement and sharing of information. One, the results that we want to achieve there is to ensure that we have approaches to share knowledge among the GCE members as well as partners, so that we constantly improve the work that we do as a movement, as well as the impact of our work. And then secondly, the expected result for the second pillar relates to really facilitating strong collaborations and engagements across all GCE members and partners, and as well as ensuring that we are providing platforms and structured systems in terms of like really enabling discussions and cross-learning on key thematic areas, common work areas that are cutting across the GCE strategic areas. And then the final results that we are really hoping to achieve through the implementation of this knowledge exchange and learning strategy, as well as the third pillar, which is to strengthen the capacity of the GCE movement in these thematic areas, and as well as technical areas that are critical for the implementation as well as the achievement of the GCE strategic goals. So the overall goal is really to ensure that GCE really becomes a leading as well as a key institution when it comes to generating, managing, and sharing knowledge, and facilitate the use of that knowledge to ensure that we are improving and adapting well into the times in which we are all operating. And again, just to emphasize that all the work areas, the strategic areas, knowledge exchange and learning is embedded in them, as you can see from the logic framework on your screen. You can move to the next slide. Thank you, Vicky. So in terms of the specific deliverables under each pillar, this is just to provide an example of how our current learning initiatives actually contribute to each pillar, as well as the results that we want to achieve in these pillars. Firstly, as I indicated, that the establishment of the systems and sharing is really that the first pillar, that we are through the development of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy, as well as reconfiguration of the existing GCE learning initiatives and building on lessons learned from the implementation of the programs that we implemented in the past, as well as the current programs, ensuring that we do have learning processes that are really accessible and provide a space as well as a platform for all members and partners to contribute towards the achievement of the learning goals that I've just referred to. And then finally, the development and the rollout of these new systems and processes is exactly what we like one of the deliverables that we want to achieve for the first pillar and its related outcome. When it comes to the second pillar of cross-learning and membership engagement, and we might all be aware of the communities of practice, which now we have really rebranded them to be learning communities as one of the initiatives that GCE has been running since 2019, and as well as the development of material and learning resources, such as the newsletters, the materials that we are mostly developing for our campaigns, for our advocacy, and also from our programs, all the reporting processes and the documentation of the successes and the challenges that we are experiencing from. Those are the really the initiatives that we can say they did exist way before really the development of the knowledge exchange and learning strategy. However, now we have just really provided them with, we have just regrouped them and provided a specific outcome or the specific results that we would like to achieve through those. And then finally, structured learning, as you can see that the development of the online courses, the learning webinars, as well as workshops and trainings that the GCE members, partners, as well as the GCE Secretariat will be delivering, will be really relevant towards the achievement of the expected result for this pillar. So as you can see, most of these, they are really not new initiatives. They've always been there. However, now we are really just looking at the way in which they are not one way, or instead members, partners all see that they do have a platform as well, they do have a space, and they have a platform where they can open their learning initiatives to ensure that the reach of our learning initiatives, whether they are coming from the national level or from the regional level or from the global levels, they do not end within our membership, but they reach wider to the GCE movement, and they are disseminated. If the opportunity to be part of it has been missed, they are disseminated through the Learning Hub, and members can always catch up with what they have probably missed. So we are hoping that really the use of the Learning Hub will provide that space for all GCE members. You can move to the next slide, Vicky. Thank you. So in terms of the learning priority themes or thematic areas, topics, and we have identified a long list of topics that vary across the GCE strategic areas. And as you can see, some of these really, they have direct linkages to the 4 strategic areas that are outlined in the GCE strategic plan, and some of them they do cut across, and some of them relate to specific programs that most of the members are actually part of their implementation, such as the Education Out Loud and the engagement in the local education groups, for instance, that cuts across those 4 strategic areas. And then as well, the technical topics that have been deemed to be relevant for the achievement of the GCE strategic goals as outlined in the strategic plan. Just to also indicate that this is not a fixed list, as we go on with the implementation of the knowledge exchange and the adoption of the Learning Hub. We will be getting more and we will be updating this list according to the new topics that emerge from the membership. So we look forward to getting more or to hearing more about some of the learning agendas that we could include to really expand our learning, as well as what are the initiatives that are already taking form at the national as well as regional level, that we can ensure that those topics are integrated and are covered in or are well provisioned for in the knowledge exchange and learning strategy. So as we are moving towards the end of my presentation, I would like to share as well that there are 4 underlying principles that are proposed in the knowledge exchange and learning strategy to adopt for GCE to actually successfully adopt and to ensure that GCE becomes the movement that we said we want to be when it comes to really generating and managing and sharing information and making use of that information to improve our work. Some of these principles relate to really just ensuring that there is a common understanding across all the stakeholders in terms of what would drive the successful implementation and the successful adoption of the Learning Hub and the knowledge exchange and learning strategy. So the first principle relates to sharing culture, which really mean that GCE has to evolve towards a culture of voluntary sharing and use information, knowledge as well as experience as evidence to improve our advocacy approaches. And the second principle relates to the adoption and use of technology-based systems to ensure the global reach and virtual collaboration in our work. And I think the address by the president has really touched well on this second principle, that really putting on technology-based systems and evolving in terms of the learning processes that we are putting in place to ensure that we are quite ready and adapting to the new developments and the new changes that are happening in the context that we all operate in. And then the third principle relates to the need to take the full ownership and for all members to be committed in terms of delivering and taking part in learning initiatives. And I think that is another, that's one of the most critical principles that will be very, I think the demand of it will be very critical if we really want to see the success and the full adoption of the Learning Hub and the success and the achievement of the learning goals that we have outlined in the knowledge exchange and learning strategy. Is that if all members, partners, and all the key role players in the implementation of our work, they do take full ownership and they are open and willing to share and open up their own spaces and invite more of not just the members within their context in which they operate, but then to open to other coalitions from other regions, from other national coalitions, as well as international organizations that are not just based in the region. And with that principle, we do understand that sometimes the contextual differences, they kind of like really do shape the focus of the learning initiatives. And what we are really encouraging there is just really the willingness and the openness to really continue opening up those spaces and making sure that if there are any documents, any learning materials that have been developed even though they are only highlighting the successes in a specific region. Maybe when it comes to a different region, the difference in the context will kind of like really impact or influence how the initiative is implemented in that specific region. But just the openness and that willingness and commitment to always share will really continue to building us to become a stronger movement. Then finally, really the need to jointly adopt the use of the learning strategy as a guide to integrate learning in all areas of our work and in a more structured manner, as we said, that the knowledge exchange and learning strategy really aims to focus or to provide for that. And then, so in terms of the process that we followed to developing the knowledge exchange and learning strategy, I think most of our members here, they are quite aware of what has happened in the last 3 to 4 months, where we really engaged with most of the national coalitions through the membership-wide survey, as well as the regional consultations, just to go through and ensure that the development of the knowledge exchange and strategy is not just owned by the GCE Secretariat, but then serves the movement, and it does provide, or it does provide that the guide that the movement needs in terms of really delivering knowledge exchange and learning initiatives. So that's just basically the processes that we followed. And now that we have the knowledge exchange and learning strategy as the final document, once it gets translated, we will be sharing the final versions probably during the first 2 weeks of October. And we look forward to still really collaborate with you in for its successful implementation and the adoption of the Learning Hub. So the Learning Hub is really just that that platform that we hope will provide the drive and will just allow all the members to contribute to the implementation of our knowledge exchange and learning strategy. So finally, just the way forward, I think, again, just to reiterate that we did have specific language group sessions in the last 2 weeks, and we are moving forward with really enrolling all the national coalitions, regional coalitions, and the international organizations that are GCE members into these 2 learning platforms that we are launching today. And we are going to continue to provide ongoing technical support. And we hope the demonstration today, as well as those that attended the trainings, kind of like really provided that that first kick in terms of really engaging and exploring the navigating through the platforms. But should there be any support required, we will always be on standby. We will also be sharing the specific guidelines in all languages for these 2 platforms, and we hope all that support will just really ensure that the knowledge exchange and learning strategy, as well as the Learning Hub, are really providing the service that we wanted to provide for the movement when it comes to knowledge exchange and learning. So I have reached the end of my presentation, and apologies, I've seen a message from the interpreters that I was too fast, but I hope you were able to really interpret everything I have mentioned. I am now going to hand over to Wolfgang to give us a brief overview and the background of the advocacy and education financing online courses before we can move forward to the live demo of them. Thank you. Over to you, Wolfgang.
Wolfgang, you are muted, so if you can just unmute yourself. We don't seem to get access to Wolfgang. We'll try to do that. And maybe we have been sitting for a while now, so maybe we can just take a break for 5 minutes and come back. Then, we'll start with Wolfgang before we go to the live demonstration. So let's take a break for 5 minutes, and later on we should all be back. The later parts are more exciting than what we started. So I hope that we will all be here, to really see what the platform is all about, how was it developed, and how can we share information through it. So thank you so much. Have a good short break. Thank you.
Oh, finally, I can unmute myself. So sorry.
No problem, Wolfgang. We are taking a 5-minute break and you will take over when you come back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much and welcome back, everyone. We will now continue from where we left. We will start with Wolfgang to take us through how the courses were developed and all the process related to that. Then later on, we'll go into the live demonstration. Over to you, Wolfgang.
Okay, thank you, colleagues, and apologies for this little interruption. I couldn't unmute myself, and I can't also not show you my video, but that is not important. So we got the support from GIZ Education Backup Education, and Oxfam IBIS and Swedish CEDA. And with this support, we were able to sort of go into this new domain of developing e-learning courses. And we choose in the beginning 2 important topics for us: advocacy and education financing. We wanted to have these digital platforms for the support of capacity for national coalitions on those topics that they relate to because of our strategic emphasis that we are putting there into education financing, that is budget analysis, pledge tracking, taxation, debt, etc. So these are critical elements of GCE's education financing advocacy work. And we see the need for coalitions to really understand the economics behind when we say education financing. What are the riddles there? What are the things that we need to know? How do we get the data? How do we interpret them and use them for the evidence that onto which we have to base our advocacy? So this all requires knowledge acquisition and learning. Hence, the e-learning idea was born, and we had, luckily, we had supporters. In the case of GIZ, we had already been doing pledge tracking for a number of years and developed tools with them, but this is now a much further developed stage that we're in. Next slide, please. So the objective of the sort of engagement around those learning courses is to enable individuals, coalitions, as individuals who enroll or as groups to engage in structured learning on topics and themes cutting across the 4 GCE strategic areas and the technical topics necessary for achieving GCE strategic goals. So I'll just give you a little bit of background on what we thought would have to go into education financing and also into advocacy. And then we'll hear a real example, or we'll see a real example of how that works when Vicky will take us through the e-learning course on financing, education financing. So in the case of education financing, we put the emphasis on that everyone who deals with that topic needs to understand the human rights and practical background of education financing globally, including the human rights conventions. So there is a chapter that deals with that. Then you need to comprehend your country level budgeting and key principles behind education financing on a national level, including through case studies. So you'll find a number of videos or case studies where you can draw on already existing studies which have been used in the development of these e-learning courses. We also want to explore issues around taxation, corruption, and lack of transparency, and why they matter for education financing. Last not least, the objective is to gain a high-level understanding of global education financing trends, why they are important and how they play into various contexts, including members' own country context. So that is the overall sort of framework under which we have designed the e-learning course on education financing. And the other one, which when you have understood education financing, then you need, of course, to be in a position to use the data, your analysis and your knowledge that you have increased in order to base your advocacy on this fresh knowledge or better understanding. So we also had to go a little bit deeper into what advocacy is all about. So we tried to define it in the course in technical terms, explore examples of advocacy in the education sector, and understand how to create a theory of change and a logic framework based on a problem and how to frame issues when conducting advocacy. We also explore in that learning course how to engage with government actors and policymakers on important issues of focus within various contexts and situations. And last not least, to comprehend the usage of data, monitoring and evaluation, measuring effectiveness and resource mobilization in advocacy. These are only two first beginning examples of what we think the Learning Hub could contain in future, that we will pick up other topics which we will sort of emulate into structured learning, into these type of Moodle based platforms where learning is really sort of, it is facilitated by the way that these platforms are built. So I'll stop there and thank you for the interest, and hopefully we will now hear from Vicky how this, in the example of one course, how this works in practice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wolfgang. We'll go straight now to Vicky to take us through the platform itself. Over to you, Vicky.
Thank you, Grant, and thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. If we haven't met virtually already, my name is Vicky Mogeni, as has been mentioned, and I work with Kuselwa on the Knowledge Exchange and Learning Initiatives for GCE. And I'm excited today to be taking you through the live demonstrations of both the e-learning platform that Wolfgang has just described, as well as the Gce Learning Hub that we're launching today. So without further ado, I will begin, and I'll begin by sharing my screen again. Okay. Okay, so I hope you can all see my screen clearly. And if you can, then you can see that I have started with the page where we'll be hosting our e-learning courses. And this is essentially the page that GCE will be using to house the two courses that Wolfgang has just described, the education financing and the advocacy courses. And so once you do arrive at this page, it will show the homepage of the different ways you can access the courses. But before we get there, I'll just begin by giving an overview of how you can actually access this page. So clearly you can see here at the top that the website itself is called learn.campaignforeducation.org. And that is probably the easiest way to access the platform itself, just simply using the link that we'll also share after this demonstration. So that's one way. The second way is through the Learning Hub that I will go through later in more detail. But there's very clear links that will bring you directly to this page. So if you do have access and log into the Learning Hub, then you can easily access the e-learning platform as well. And then the third way is through the GCE website, which is also quite simple if you find it there. So once you do access the page, you'll just hit login here on the top right. And then you're brought to the login page. On the login page, again, with accessing the e-learning platform, you have two options. You can log in as a guest, which is if you don't have a username and password, but once you log in as a guest, you don't have the same privileges as logging in with a username and password, such as enrolling fully in the courses or discussion groups, as well as earning badges. So the best way to log in is with your username and password, which we will be providing as well after this training and demonstration. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll use my username and password and just hit log in. Okay, great. So you can see once you've logged in, you have a much more dynamic platform. There's menu items available to you now, and you can see yourself here, your profile. So just to give an overview of the platform itself before I go into the courses, as soon as you arrive here, you can see that there's two menu items, one horizontally here at the top and one here on the left vertically. On the horizontal menu here at the top, one of the most important key features, especially for GCE, is that you can change your preferred language that you would like to see the platform in. And this just changes the menu items within the platform. So not necessarily the content of the courses, which are also available in different languages. So if I would like to see the platform in Spanish, the menu items in Spanish, for example, you can see that it changes the menu items to Spanish throughout the homepage as well, except this, which is the content itself. So I'll go back to English. So the second menu item at the top is the courses, which you can access from here as well if you know which courses you want to access already. But there's also other ways to access the course that I'll show you from the homepage. The second menu item here on the left is the more detailed information for your profile. So it's the homepage, of course, that we're on. The second menu item is the dashboard. The dashboard is really just one area that contains all your information, personal information for your profile and for the courses that you're enrolled in. So you can see here that there's recently added courses that you can access. Upcoming activities will be accessible in your dashboard as well. Your private files, for me, because I'm an administrator, I can see the online users, and you'll also be able to access your badges upon completing certain courses and modules, as well as a calendar with upcoming events. And then the next few menu items are just each of those dashboard items, separate menu items. So you can come directly to the calendar to see upcoming events related to the different online courses. You can also go into your private files. This is where you can actually upload private files, as well as access the ones you've uploaded, such as your notes, etc. There's also a content bank that you can upload different types of content, such as files as well, if you like, or images, etc. And then finally, you can access your courses through here that you're enrolled in. Because I'm enrolled in education financing, it shows financing education here. So I'll just go back to the homepage and go through it as well. So on the homepage, once you do land, the first aspect obviously is the welcome to the online learning at GCE. And you can clearly see that you are on the right page. You can search for courses here. I think as Wolfgang mentioned, once we begin to add additional courses, there might be multiple options, and the search function I think will be most useful then. And then you can, the easiest way now to access the courses is through here on the homepage, where there's currently courses in French, Portuguese, English, and Spanish. And we're working as well to add Arabic to these courses. So this is really where, you know, if you're looking to access courses, would be the easiest place to go through. And then there's site announcements also on the homepage, such as when new language courses become available, or any other announcements that are relevant to the online courses for GCE members, partners, and people registered to the platform. And then finally, you can see your courses here as well. So you can really access whichever courses you're enrolled in. And again, I can access education financing. So it's quite simple. It's very user-friendly. As soon as you come on the homepage, you can really access all the information that you might need. So I'm just going to go into the English courses to show you the structure of the courses, as Wolfgang mentioned. So once you click on courses in English or any other language courses, you'll be directed to this page that simply just shows you the 2 courses that are available in English. And you can see here that it's education financing and advocacy. Because I'm an administrator, I can see manage courses or add a new course, but as users, you'll just see the courses themselves. Once we add more courses, you can use the search function, as well as go back home, etc. as needed. So I will go into education financing again to show you how this is structured. Great, so once I click on education financing, I'm brought to the homepage of the course itself. And as soon as you are in the education financing course, the first aspect again is announcements. If there's any relevant announcements for this course that might be useful for the students that are enrolled or any information, then we'll be posting it there. And then it's followed by a welcome to the Gce e-learning course on financing education. So this is really just the area that shows the learning objectives for the course that Wolfgang also just went over. So you know, you're able, as soon as you come into education financing course, to determine if you are interested in taking the course, but also if you have already enrolled, to know what to expect. So you can see for the education financing, the objectives, as was mentioned, is to understand the human rights context, to comprehend country level budgeting and key principles behind education financing, to explore taxation and corruption and wide matters for education financing, as well as to gain a high level understanding of global education financing trends and why they're important in various contexts. So once you've gone through the objectives, then the course, it goes into the course itself. So the education financing course, similar to the rest, is divided into modules. And for the education financing course, there are 8 modules. I'll just scroll down to show you. So the great thing about the courses is that you are able to interact with various aspects. There is practical examples for each aspect of the course. As you can see, different country case studies. There's also videos that you can watch in various languages, depending on, you know, your learning style, your interests, and it really takes you through an interactive learning experience that's also comprehensive and dives deep. So each of the modules covers a different topic to kind of really go through all the themes within education financing. The first few modules really cover the human rights context, and then the next few modules go into budgeting and taxation and why education financing matters and how these factors on a country level affect education financing. And then the last few modules also go into tax justice and the importance of data, as well as public expenditure. And then finally, the last module really brings it all together, covering budget advocacy and why advocacy is important for education financing. So I'm just going to go into one of the lessons to show you how it's structured as well. So once I click on module 1, I'm brought straight to the lessons, and then I just click on, because I'm enrolled, I've completed the first lesson, so I go into the next lesson. So this is lesson 1.1.2. Once you click on it, you're brought to this homepage of the lesson, and you have very clear prompts on where to go from here. So I will just click enter. And it takes a few seconds to load. And then because I've already been taking this course, I could hit resume. but for this training, I'll just hit restart. So this is the homepage of the second lesson. And like I said, the prompts are quite simple. Once I land here, I could just hit start. And it shows me the lesson again, the title, and I hit start. So the first aspect of the lesson itself is the learning outcomes. And since this is the second lesson on sustainable development goals, the first outcome is what are sustainable development goals? The second outcome is what do they say about education and financing of education? And the third outcome is what is the progress on achieving the sustainable development goals? So once I've read through the outcomes, I can continue. And then it goes straight into the first learning outcome. And then I can go through each icon. It's quite interactive, quite simple, and very comprehensive and interesting. So I can read through it and understand how the SDGs are framed. And since most of us on this call probably understand that quite well, it continues straight into what do they say about financing of education. And once I read through the prompts once again, read through Sustainable Development Goal 17 about partnership for the goals and how that relates to education financing. Once I've gone through all the prompts, then I can hit continue. And then it moves on to the third outcome until you complete the lesson. So if you would like to continue at a different time, then you can just simply hit exit activity. So that is really how all the courses are structured. The advocacy course is shorter and has 4 modules, but each of them are really comprehensive and elaborate on these key areas for GCE. In terms of the process of accessing the e-learning platform, we'll be giving access to all members in the next 2 weeks, as Kuselwa mentioned in the way forward. So please do look out for an email from us, just really giving access and credentials so that you can access the courses and be able to enroll in them. And we'll be providing ongoing support as well. But if you do have any questions, please continue to share them through the chat as well as through the Q&A function. So now I see my internet is slightly weak, so I'm just going to turn off my video. But I will move on to the Gce Learning Hub. Similarly, I'm really excited to be sharing with you all the Learning Hub and the features of the Hub and how to access it as well. And it's, as I mentioned, closely related to the online courses, as you can access them through the Learning Hub. So here I am on the homepage of the Gce Learning Hub. And there's various ways that you can arrive at this page. Some of you already have login information and instructions and have seen this page. But if you haven't as well, the easiest way to access it is to go through the GCE website. So you can see I'm going directly to the GCE website. And once you are in the GCE website, you just click on the top right here on Members Portal. And because I'm logged in, it's taken me directly to the Learning Hub. But for most of you, it will show you a login page, and you'll be able to submit the information that I will share with you. As I mentioned, in the next 2 weeks, I'll be sharing the credentials to all members and partners to access the Hub. So that is the easiest way to access it, and you'll arrive here on the homepage. So once you access the Hub, you will be able to see everything that's within it, all the content, all the information, and all the resources. But the first page you'll land on is the homepage here. I'll begin by just giving an overview of the homepage and then move to the rest of the menu items as well. So quite important, similar to the e-learning platform, is that you can select your language to see the menu items in. So if you would like to see the hub in Arabic, then you can change it to Arabic and be able to see and navigate in your preferred language. And then on the homepage, as you can see, is a welcome to the Knowledge and Learning Hub for the Global Campaign for Education. And then right away here on the left, you can see upcoming events. And this is really where we'll just be posting and uploading events submitted by the Gce membership, by our partners, and also external events that could be relevant to GCE and to our work in education. And then you're able to click into any of these events and see the details and retrieve those, the online information of the location and the time. And then on the right here, you can see quick links. And these are really just quick buttons to direct you straight to be able to share events and meetings, to share knowledge and resources, as well as to the online courses. As I mentioned, you can access them through the Learning Hub. And so I will go over briefly how to share events and meetings shortly, but this is really the easiest way to access them is directly through the homepage. And then if you scroll down further on the homepage, on the left here, you can see GCE blog posts, which is where we'll really be posting all the most recent blogs by GCE or submitted by members that are really just of utmost relevance or importance at that time, and will really just be an easy way to access what is going on with the GCE membership. And then on the right, you can see the Twitter feed for GCE, just an easy way to really understand what's going on the social media for GCE. And then if you scroll down further, you'll be able to see external knowledge and blogs. So we'll also be posting information and resources as well as blogs from our external strategic partners that could be relevant to GCE and to our work, because as we know, knowledge is quite global and there's a lot of knowledge and education around the world. So this is really where we'll post external information as well. So that's the homepage, quite resourceful as well. So let's move on now to About the Hub. So the second menu item. The second menu item about the Hub is essentially a background page that gives an overview of the purposes and objectives of the Gce Learning Hub. The rationale is explained here. So this is the first part of the About the Hub page that really just explains how Gce's work as a movement is centered around its strategic goals and objectives, and that our success is determined by our collective impact. And then after the rationale, it also goes into the provision of the Membership Engagement and Knowledge Hub as a freely available online platform. And then what's key here is it just describes the purpose, the different purposes that the knowledge, that the Learning Hub will serve. And here you can see a visual representation of these purposes. So the first, as you can see here, is that the Gce Learning Hub will serve as a platform for membership engagement, which is quite important, as we know, as a collective movement, to just ensure we're engaged with each other's work, as well as GCE's work, and ensuring we're aligned as well. Secondly, the second two purposes is the shared learning and online collaboration. As has been mentioned in previous presentations, we know that this is really important for GCE, and so these will be the key purposes of the hub, which is just to provide a space for shared learning and sharing of resources that are produced at different levels, so regional, national, global level by members. And this is just based on the belief that GCE members have rich knowledge to share, and providing that space where they are able to boost the online collaboration and share as well. And then the other vital purpose of the Learning Hub will be to serve as a knowledge repository. So with all the resources being uploaded and being shared by members, members will be able to access them anytime, as well as click and collect materials that are important to them. And I'll go over shortly how members will be able to do that as well. So the knowledge repository and collecting materials and resources will really just enable the hub to be GCE's kind of library for information as well. And then lastly, the hub will allow for connecting with thematic experts through learning communities, and different members being able to join discussion groups, collaborate with members and partners that are experts or that are more knowledgeable in certain areas or thematic areas. So that's really the purposes that the hub will serve. And then if you scroll down further, the About the Hub page shows how to contribute to the hub and learning in more detail. So there's 3 ways to contribute to the hub for all members, and I think this is quite key in order for us to all be able to use and to gain from the benefits of sharing knowledge. So the first way is to engage with content and members. As I mentioned, online collaboration and discussions is really a key purpose and aspect of the hub, and will really be able to connect us in different from different regions, but also from different areas of expertise. So users will be able to share their views and experiences through comments, open discussions, participation in polls, and actively engaging with published content to gain and share knowledge and experiences. So the hub actively promotes interaction between members. The second way to contribute to the hub will be through sharing information and learning resources. So this is a really, really important, I think, and vital aspect of the hub to keep it alive and to ensure that we're all benefiting as well. So members are invited to share their success stories, best practices, learning resources, or any other materials that are that you think might be important for the rest of the movement to engage with for publication on the hub. And here we're able to see the 2 ways that you can do that. So I've shown you from the homepage, these other 2 same buttons for sharing knowledge and sharing events. So either from here on the About the Hub page or from the homepage, you can click on Share Event, and it will simply redirect you to a form that we'll be monitoring on our end. So here you'll be able to add the event title. For example, if you are hosting Gce Global Launch of the Learning Hub, and then provide us with your first and last name so that we can know the organizer of the event. Provide us with the start date of the event, as well as the end date if it's the same date. Can provide the time zone, South African Standard Time in my case, as well as the location. Most meetings now will likely be online, but you can also provide a specific location, as well as the link and additional information such as the agenda or the Zoom link or any other information you'd like to share. And then very important is to share your email address so that we can contact you if we have any questions. So it's really that simple. Once you're done, you just hit submit, and then you get a confirmation message, and we'll have received your event. And we'll go ahead and post it here in the Learning Hub. The second way is to share knowledge, which is a little bit more comprehensive. And once again, once you hit share knowledge right here, it redirects you to another form. And so this form is different to contribute a resource. So you can add the title of the resource, the name of the contributing coalition, your email so that we can contact you if we have any questions. And then the resource contributing also provides a space to specify the strategic objective so that we can capture the resource correctly, the thematic area as well. And so for both strategic objective and thematic area, there's options to add other. As we know, there's a variety of thematic areas being covered by GCE members. And then you can also add the resource type so that we can categorize it correctly as well. So whether it's a case study, a presentation, learning brief, blog, podcast, videos, or a success story, and then any other, depending on how you'd like it to be categorized. And then the resource language, we'll be posting the resources in the language that it's shared with us. If it is a brief resource, then we can work on translating it in some cases. But for the most part, if it's, a long report in French, then it will likely be for, the French audience within the Learning Hub. And then if there's a link to the resource, you can also share it with us, as well as upload the file itself. And then similar to the events form, you just hit submit and we will receive the form and share it widely on the Hub. So that's the second way to engage with the Hub, and really easy, as you can see, and quite effective, and will just be a great way for members to stay engaged with events and resources being produced at different levels. And then the third way is engaging with GCE online courses. This is also the same link that was on the homepage. As you can see, once you click the online courses, it just directs you straight to the e-learning platform that we went over. Okay, great. So that is about the Hub page. The third menu item is the Learning Center. The Learning Center will really be, serve as the main source of content and resources for the Learning Hub. It'll be a one-stop area to access all the information that's on the GCE Learning Hub, all the resources, learning materials across the GCE strategic objectives, thematic areas, as well as other areas of work that members are prioritizing and working on. So just to briefly go over the Learning Center and its features and how to navigate it. So here on the, once you click on the Learning Center, you will be redirected to a new page with sub-menu items. So I'm on the home page of the Learning Center now, and you can see that the first part of the home page just kind of gives a brief background into knowledge exchange and learning at GCE. I think as of now, we've all heard that it's aiming to connect members across regions and across work streams to learn from each other, to facilitate discussions, and to collaborate on key focus areas. So the background also just gives an overview of the guiding principles behind the knowledge exchange and learning at GCE that Costello also presented on. The first is building a sharing culture. Second is putting in place technology-based infrastructure. The third is ownership, and the fourth is adoption of a structured process. So once you continue scrolling down on the homepage, you can see the GCE Learning Agenda, and this was also from the Knowledge Exchange and Learning Strategy, and this is just a background on or a list of the thematic areas that the Learning Agenda will cover. But the platform does not display all the thematic areas and topics that GCE Learning will cover. So this is just a few of them, as you can tell. And then on the homepage as well, once you scroll down, it goes on to the quick links. The quick links will really just be very specific on the homepage of the Learning Center, areas that you can click on to see, to be able to link you to other learning activities. For example, discussions. Once you click discussions, you'll be able to simply go and start a discussion with a different group, or the press center, which links to the GCE website as well. So occasionally we'll add content from the GCA website. And so once you press here, it goes directly to the main website. And so that's really just going to be an area that you can easily access learning links. And then the next aspect of the Learning Center homepage is the events, notes, and highlights. And this is really where you'll be able to see any information on events that you may have missed, or even an event that you did attend and want to access maybe the notes or the recording. You'll be able to see the event title here, the event type, date and time, location, the notes and highlights, the thematic areas, as well as the relevant attachments. So this is going to really be helpful once again if you've missed an event, but also depending on the number of events we're having, the information that we do receive from event hosts. So I think that will be really helpful. And then if you scroll down further, there should be a calendar here, which again is linked to the calendar on the homepage. Yeah, there we go. And just really shows just the events that are upcoming in a calendar format. So that's the homepage of the Learning Center. And then if you go to the menu on the left again, you can click on News and Impact Stories. And so this is really where all the information and the content will be stored. Everything that is sent in by members will be uploaded here to News and Impact Stories. And then within this menu item, there's two sections. The first is the top news and stories that you can see here. And the second is a list of the same news and stories. So the top news and stories is where only recent news, recent blogs, recent resources will be showing up on the platform. So you can see that there's 4 showing up here, which will be the case majority of the time. So if this is the most recent resource that's been uploaded, it was uploaded yesterday, so it's showing up as the most recent one, and then the ones from the past week as well. And so if you would like to just come in and see what's going on with the movement, what has been recently uploaded, this will really be a great place to access that. And if you want, further information on or looking for a specific resource, then you can go scroll further down and see the news and impact stories list. And this is where all the resources will be stored, not just the recent resources. And what's great is that you can either go through the list, but as we add more resources, we'll be able to filter and determine which resources are interesting to you. For example, if I'm looking for just resources on education financing, I can just simply click here on the left, and it will show up just the one resource on education financing at the moment. And then once I have it here, I have the option to either open it, where it will open the page separately, the impact of debt service in Malawi, and I can read through it. Or I can also share it, copy the link, and those are really the only 2 options for users. You can click on more than one. If I want to see education financing and cross-cutting, then I can do that as well. Or if I just want education in emergencies, I can do that as well. So that's the news and impact stories page. And if we also go back to the left of the menu and the library. So the library is related to the news and impact stories, but this will be where we store all the documents, resources, publications, and longer publications that are submitted by members and partners or created by the Gce Secretariat available to the movement. So some of the news and impact stories, if submitted as an attachment, we'll also add them here, but it will really just be a source of a kind of library with all the documents and information. And again, the library will be divided into two areas. The first is you can filter by GCE strategic areas, and the second is you can filter by thematic areas if you want to be more specific. So you can see there's a number of resources currently uploaded. It starts from the most recent one, and if you're looking for, once again, something very specific, if you want to see work on equality and non-discrimination, then you can click on there. And then it will just show you the resources that are under equality and non-discrimination. Once again, you have a few options. You can open the resource, and if it links to an external source, then it will take you directly there. So this is a resource we've recently received on the impact of COVID-19 on school-going girls and young women in Uganda, and you can read through it. Or if you want to share it, you can share it, or you can download it as well if you want the resource for something specific. So that's really the feature that allows you to click and collect resources. And then similarly, you can click on more than one filter, of course. There's nothing transformative, but if you want to see two different strategic areas, then you can. And then in the second filter area, it's a similar format where you can filter, but this time with thematic areas. So if you're looking for something very specific, then you can come here and see the different filters and be able to find what you're looking for. So if I just want to find information on gender equality, I can click on that. And then it's some of the similar resources I saw before, but for example, if I'm looking for the gender strategy, then I can find it here. And once again, I can click on it, and then it opens and I can read through it. Or I can download it with the three buttons here on the side. Download it or share it externally with someone who's not on the platform, for example. So that's the Learning Center. There's also the media library that's within the library, where we'll be uploading videos and photos as well. And then finally, you can add comments to different resources and be able to like them. So this is really the engagement aspect of the hub as well. And then the last menu item in the Learning Center is the learning communities. I know we've all, as Gce mentioned, heard of communities of practice that we're now rebranding to learning communities. And this will really be the space to engage with the different learning communities. At the moment, there is Education in Emergencies Learning Community, where you can come in and add any questions or discussions. And we'll also be adding information as it comes in. There's Education Financing Learning Community, as well as Inclusive Education Learning Community. And then you can also upload to an open learning community as well. So that is essentially the Learning Center, which will be a great resource for materials and information as well. So moving now to Advocacy and Campaigns. The first menu item here is policy advocacy. So once you click on policy advocacy, it brings you to this page, the homepage of policy advocacy. And essentially, it just starts with background information similar to the previous pages on GCE's work in policy advocacy, just giving a brief background into that. Finally mentioning that GCE's strategic role is to ensure that the voice of grassroots civil society organizations is heard at all levels internationally. So once you have that background, you can scroll down and just be able now to see the different GCE policy advocacy forums. So this is really where you'll be able to get information about the policy advocacy forums, as well as resources and documents and events, etc. So we recognize that these are not all the policy advocacy forums, and we will continue to add to them as we populate the Learning Hub, and as well as add the resources within the forums themselves. So you can click into a policy advocacy forum for which you want information on. For example, the Global Partnership for Education. At the moment, there isn't a lot of resources here, but just to see the structure, it gives a little bit of background on GCE's role with GPE, and then kind of shows a section on meetings and events, which could be linked to the meetings and events on the homepage as well, and then a calendar that kind of goes into that further. And then the only other aspect is the resources and documents that are related to GPE. So it will really just serve as an information space for these policy advocacy spaces. And then for campaigns, it's structured similarly to the policy advocacy. So once again, gives a little bit of background on GCE's campaigns, that the campaigns are really there to provide opportunities for participation of GCE members based on common objectives, shared strategies, and global impact. And so you can read through that very briefly. And then similar to the policy advocacy, you can go to the different campaigns that are running at that time. And it will lead you to the page of that particular campaign, where you can access the campaigns, news and updates being uploaded, the events, as well as the resources, relevant resources and documents. Okay, so the last two menu items are also quite interesting. The first one is membership information. So this is really where we're going to be adding the GCE membership information. As we become a more aligned and engaged membership, it will be important to understand where we're all based and how to reach each other. So this will be the page where we'll update that information. So as you can see here, there's a map of where GCE members are based. And then below that is the more detailed information for each country and each coalition rather, and each member and where they're based. So the country, the region, the name of the coalition, the acronym, the national coordinator, the phone, the email, as well as the website. So this is really the page that all this will be added. And some of you may already know about the ongoing membership update process. And that process will really help us to be able to update this information correctly. So I really encourage, if you have received the membership update form, to complete it so that we have all members' information within the Learning Hub. And then the last aspect is the constituency engagements. The constituency engagements will provide closed spaces for constituencies as well as regions to be able to share and learn from each other with work that's relevant just to that space. So there is a space for each region, as you can see, for Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe or North America, and Latin America, and Middle East for each region, as I mentioned, and then for the different constituencies as well. So the youth-led constituency, the board member space, as well as for international organizations. So each of them will be assigned to a focal point that will be administrating that particular space. So for example, if we assign an administrator to the youth-led constituency, once they click on it, there is the homepage that has announcements, upcoming events that will be relevant just to the youth constituency, resources and publications. This could be minutes from their meetings or other information that's relevant to their constituency, webinars and meetings as well, where they can add files and information, and then a discussion board to be able to discuss information relevant to their constituency. Yes, so similarly, the board member space will just be that space for board members to be able to upload their upcoming meetings, such as their upcoming board meetings, and we'll have an administrator again to be able to update this regularly and keep the constituency updated. Great, so those are the key features of the Learning Hub. It is quite dynamic, as you can see, and there's a lot of opportunities to share and engage, once again, through here on the homepage or the other links in the hub. But I encourage you, if you do have a login, to go in and peruse and see what's on there already, and if you can add resources or information. But if you don't have a login, as I mentioned, we will be sharing them with the members throughout the next 2 weeks. But in the meantime, do let me know if you have any questions or any of us, and we are excited to launch this. Thank you. I'll hand back over to you, Grant.
Yes, thank you so much, Vicky. What really an excitement, exploration of what, the hub really has in terms of the information and how also the information can be shared. When Vicky was sharing this, I was thinking that, previously, if a coalition could produce a publication, they could only share that via email to a listed number of those that they have in their email box. This platform, takes that to another level. Because, instead of just sharing to those that, if you post that publication on this platform, it will be shared to all GCE members, meaning that, your reach, the reach of your work will be much broader than what it was before. And then things that, Rifat mentioned in terms of the engagement, in terms of how we strengthen our own knowledge of different regions, that will be really evidenced by using this platform. So we really encourage you to use this platform. Everything else that has been shared here will not mean anything if there's no information to share. So it will really depend on how, we will actually, you will engage with the process. We're looking at various ways, to motivate the sharing, to see, how, we can do that, and we'll be sharing those as we go along. And also, just to add to say that, just as Vicky and Kusuwa mentioned, and Wolfgang as well, and these are not the only courses that will be there. We will be increasing. Our dream and desire is to have courses that align to all the GCE 4 strategic objectives. We are planning to ensure that that is done. But apart from that, we want to pick up interesting stories, publications from yourself, and impact stories. Just beyond we implemented this activity, we did that, but rather that what has been the impact on the ground, because we need all that story, we need all those stories, because that will also inform the newsletters that Pirani, our communications person, sends out to the whole GCE membership. In future, we really want to open this space to beyond just GCE members. We really want to make GCE really a one-stop shop where information is available. Most of our reports, we write it based with information from other sites that we are able to log in to find, but now we have got our own, and I hope that we will all be strongly engaging in this process. We are now going to go into the Q&A, but I see that there are questions already in the chat. Some of them that have been responded to. I think there was one important one that was asking whether you have to pay anything for you to be able to access these courses. These courses are for free to everyone who has got access to them, and you do them at your own pace. Once you start them, and you earn badges as you go along. So it is for free. And also there was another question on whether there is a limitation on groups that can actually be enrolled. There's no limitation. Anyone actually can access those courses. But now, apart from the ones that are in the list here, we can also take some questions. To me, I'm not sure how we're going to do that, considering that the participants don't have access to microphones or camera.
It's all right, Grant. There are already questions in the chat box, so we can just quickly address those. I will go through them. Some of them were directed to me and Vicky. So we're just going to go through that and address those. And I think, yeah, the first two are the ones that we already addressed about eligibility and the payment, which I think that has been already cleared. And when it comes to also, I think one of the questions was, how are we going to enroll coalitions? How many accounts the coalitions can get for the Learning Hub? So for the Learning Hub, we will only assign one account per coalition or per institution, so that the engagement is, in the Learning Hub is not personalized, but it's mostly really about sharing information and content from the national coalition. So the one account that you will be assigned for the national coalition, it can be shared with your own members within the coalition or with your own organization to actually access and engage with the content. And when it comes to publishing the content, I think Vicky has already indicated when she was doing the demo that the resources that you are sharing with us, they come to the administrator to be the one who does the publishing. So that's why when we are saying you can share your login credentials with your own network, with your own organizations, because the coalition, in our understanding, the coalition represents a network of organizations. So if that is being shared with them, it's totally fine. But the main person who will be really contributing the content for publication will be the one we have assigned as a focal point. But then that person, when they share the resources, they don't go directly to the Learning Hub. They go to the administrator, which will be Vicky, and then Vicky will publish the content and upload the resources that has been received. So that's what we wanted to indicate as well. And there was also a question from Rene about the whether the content that has been published in your in some of the GCE members' website, we can it can be republished, whether the users will be directed to for instance to ASPE's website. Yes, definitely, that is another way of publishing the content. We will be importing content from other external websites as well, not just the GCE website. So for instance, if the Spotlight report is already on ASPE's website, and what we will do, we would import it so that when the members engage with the Learning Hub, they actually view it from ASPE's website to fully engage with, but then they can send the comment and like the post with here in the Learning Hub. And I think the next question was about how do you become a member? Okay, that's quite clear. I'm not sure if the question is about how do you become a member of GCE or about how to gain access to the Learning Hub, and I think we've clarified that. So if it's about how to become a member of GCE, there is already, I think there is on the GCE website, there is a specific section that is dedicated to how to become a member and all the forms for how institutions actually become the members of GCE. And once they are members of GCE, but of course, the enrollment to the Learning Hub is it's something that they are all eligible for. And for now, we've said we have limited it to only the GCE members, but once the adoption and the uptake we see that it has improved within the GCE network, we can look at expanding and really just opening it to other close networks within the GCE movement. And the last question, I think it was in the Q&A box. Thing again, it was about the number, the assigning accounts to national coalitions, and yeah, and I've already addressed that one. That there will be one account for the Learning Hub to an institution, and however, for the online courses, there is no limit on how many users can be enrolled into it, and. I'm not sure which country is not. There is a question as well from Omar Chinese about why is our country not a member. I think you can follow up with us on that one. Do you want to address that, Grant? Or we can just indicate that you can follow up with us via email in terms of how to really address the issue of, because we're not sure which country are you from.
Is Algeria. That okay, the country is Algeria in that case, and I think it's a question for Refat to see whether we have hope to have an Algeria member soon.
Okay, yes, that is fine. We'll follow that up, via email so that we can understand exactly what it is, but also to refer them to the right place. I think there was one last question from Rene on to say, will members be notified if there are new publications that have been posted on the hub? Say one, Vicky.
Yes, we will set up notifications whenever we are publishing the content. Then there would be a notification email that goes to the email address that we have used to enroll the National Coalition, to notify them that there has been a new publication or there is a new post. But yeah, it's just going to be on the email basis. On the mobile level, we will not be able to provide that, but I think via emails, the notifications will be set up so that all the users are notified about the new content that has become available on the Learning Hub.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. And I think let's continue to engage on it. If you have got other questions or other areas that you need clarification, please do not hesitate to reach out to Vicky and Kusewa. Vicky and Kusewa, if you can just post your email addresses in the chat, that will help so that the members know who to contact. Having said that, I think we can all see how exciting this is, and I think it will create a new approach to the way we see things and to the way we engage in GCE. And I believe that this is one way of us, strengthening our engagement, but also building, our movement. We need a strong movement, that can engage meaningfully on various issues and various topics. And I think this is one of the spaces that will do that. I just want also to add this, that I think, or as we know, that most of GCE members in the Global South are part of the EOL program. And I think, when we look at it, the work that we're doing under that program, we will also have, a specific area where, we share that, because I think that will be very important for us to highlight, because the program supports most of our national coalitions in the Global South. So we'll be engaging with the Oxfam IBIS in that area to see how best, we can actually do that. But this will be a one-stop shop for everything, be it the learning, be it, or the courses, be it the community or practices previously known. But, everything else will be all in this place. And, I encourage you really to really engage with it and to share, the login. The login, has not only to remain with one person, but rather that, let's share it within the coalition network so that everyone else is able to access that. Having said that, now I'll pass on to our Vice President, Madeleine, to now offer the closing remarks. Over to you, Madeleine.
Okay. I don't have my camera on, but here I am.
Okay, you can start, and then I'll ask our technical people to activate it. Yeah.
Good. I will speak in Spanish. Bueno, quiero decir que me siento muy orgullosa de la campaña mundial por la educación, porque el trabajo que se ha realizado con este centro de aprendizaje y la oportunidad de compartir conocimientos diversos sobre educación con el mundo entero es realmente una herramienta muy poderosa para la campaña mundial por la educación. Todos sabemos que en este año y medio, 2 años, quién sabe más de pandemia, las distintas instituciones educativas, no únicamente escolares, sino también universidades y los centros o instituciones de educación informal han sufrido y siguen sufriendo tremendamente, no solo por la falta de conectividad, como hemos comprobado, sino también por las condiciones de aprendizaje que se han querido diseñar para superar ese impasse. Por esa razón, la campaña mundial está aprovechando maravillosamente bien la comunicación virtual. Es una herramienta muy poderosa y creo que vamos a aprender a manejarla para el bien del mundo, porque estamos llevando no solamente mensajes, sino productos, resultados de investigaciones que van a aportar a la mejora de la educación en nuestros países y en el mundo. Les pido que hagan la mayor publicidad posible sobre este maravilloso centro de aprendizaje para tener muchos miembros en los 5 continentes haciendo uso de él. Será la mejor manera de fortalecer el movimiento que significa la campaña mundial por la educación. Muchísimas gracias al equipo técnico que ha diseñado y está poniendo en marcha este centro de aprendizaje y a cada uno de los intérpretes que también nos han apoyado esta mañana y nos seguirán apoyando en la vida que merecemos que sea larga del centro de aprendizaje. Muchísimas gracias a todos los participantes y nuevamente los convoco a ser los portavoces de este excelente instrumento de comunicación y aprendizaje. Only now my camera worked.
Thank you so much, Madeleine, and thank you so much to everyone for joining. And just as our Vice President said, thank you for being part of this. We hope you engage further with it. There will be lots of information that will come out of it. Please look out to your emails, and looking forward to engaging with you further. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.